welcome to another episode of Gossip Finance, where I am your host, Lacey Singer.
And I'm Duncan Sandlin, and welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? How are you today, Lacey?
I'm fabulous. I'm looking forward to talking about some good Trump drama because apparently that's stacking up on us.
Oh God, isn't it always? I'm sick of this guy already. But we're gonna cover it today because we gotta do it. So anyway, so let's begin with the Joe Biden situation with the impeachment, which is now. I mean, it was bullshit from the beginning, but now it's definitely bullshit because their key witness, the only real witness they had, got arrested twice by the FBI for lying to the FBI about this. And it was all bullshit. And so we're going to jump into that.
Oh my God, it's all so stupid.
Yeah, so the whole thing was bullshit. It's just amazing to me. But yeah, not amazing. We knew it was bullshit, but to find out that bad.
House Republicans trying to impeach President Biden will meet behind closed doors with the president's brother, James. This interview comes as a series of Biden family business associates have testified that the president was not involved in his family's foreign business dealings, which undermines the central allegation that is part of the Republican investigation. On top of that, the stunning revelation overnight that one of the informants relied on by House Republicans said he was given information by the Russians, information that prosecutors say is false. And now, for the first time, we are hearing from Republicans who are processing this, you might say, spinning this news. Let's get right to CNN anchor and...
So not only was he lying, he was doing the dialogue the Russian government gave him.
Oh my gosh.
So he's a Russian asset.
Yeah.
God, wow.
You know, it's funny. Trump is the one that's always...
Go ahead.
Yeah. Trump is always the one who's claiming that there's this crazy witch hunt against him. But actually, here's where the witch hunt is, right? They're just like, just looking for things that don't exist.
Oh, no. It's just crazy. And then it's a little bit worse because... I mean, now they're trying to spin this as well. He's still reliable, and he's not. The FBI's arrested him twice now. He looks like he's going to do prison time for lying to the FBI. On top of that fact, the whole case was bullshit to begin with. They had no evidence other than really this guy, and that was it. So, I mean, it was kind of pathetic. I mean, the whole deal coming at it. We'll go back over here real quick. So, the indicted FBI informant tied to Trump Associates, records. So this guy Alexander Smirnov was the other thing. Okay, so this is the second part. So not only did he take money from the Russians, he was paid $600,000 by a company that's tied directly to Trump. So it's doubly bad. So the American company that
Wasn't there a little flow chart? They drew a little chart of how it all ties back to Trump or something. I'm not gonna lie, I like a good flow chart. I gotta say, that's the teacher in me.
I don't know that there's a flow chart. It's pretty simple though. It's not that complicated. So he was accused of lying to the FBI about Hunter Biden, right? But he's connected to a UK company that's owned by Trump business associates in Dubai. And so this has to do with Saudi Arabians basically hiring this guy for $600,000 for God knows what. So in 2020, when this all started, was paid $600,000 by a company called Economic Transformation Technologies. That same year, Smirnov...
See, there it is.
Yeah, began lying to the FBI about the Bidens. So, there it is. There was a spoiler. So the Smirnov...
That's what I'm talking about. Look, you don't even have to read it. Look, it just points it right out.
Right. The CEO, Christopher Condon, who's along with these two guys, Sahal and Farouk, all of them are tied to Trump. So it's really, I mean, there's only one step of break there. I mean, it pretty much goes right back and forth, back to Donald Trump. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, there's like maybe only a sort of a couple little stair steps there.
Oh yeah.
It's not a big tunnel. It's just like 2 steps away.
Well, and the thing about it that cracks me up is they're the ones that always do the conspiracy theories, Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl and Travis Kelce and all that shit. And it's this big roundabout, confusing thing that doesn't make sense. This is directly, hey, Trump's associates paid this guy $600,000, and then he started lying to the FBI with dialogue that he was fed from the Russian government. That's not complicated at all.
I know it.
Oh, man. So I'm going to jump in. Ben Mysalis has a bit on this, and you can see on his face that he thinks this is just as funny as we do.
It is an utter bloodbath at the Republican National Committee right now. Lara Trump took over as its co-chair.
Oh. I don't know what's going on with that clip. Hang on a second. Yeah, that clip's going crazy. But we can clip that up. But yeah, no, it's just the whole thing is just terrible. I mean, they've lost the plot completely with that. So the Biden impeachment thing pretty much dead in the water. It's not going anywhere. And Mike Johnson doesn't even really want to talk about it anymore. He's trying to ignore that it happened. So it just cracks me up. But we'll go back to this one. So actually, we'll skip to this next clip. But he does talk about new segment. Sorry, that was kind of weird. We're having some technical things. So new segment. So Trump now, on top of his buddies paying off this guy to inform on Biden, basically they ousted the Ronna McDaniel, who was running the Republican National Committee. So she's gone, right? And she was doing terribly. She wasn't raising money. Everything was horrible. But it's not really her fault. So Trump's now replaced it with another guy, and his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who we talked about last time, who he didn't even know it was her until like years later. She was on the news talking about him. Yeah, the whole family hated her for a long time, but now she's kissed his ass enough that he's put her. She's number 2 now at the RNC, and she's control of the money. So all the money's going to go to pay his legal fees. We were joking about, wouldn't that be great if they dumped all their money into his legal fees and not into their campaigns? Well, that's what's happening.
Oh my God.
So we're skipping.
You cannot make this stuff up.
I know. It's so stupid, but it's one of those things where, hey, when your opponent makes a mistake, don't correct them. Just let them do it. So here it is.
The funny thing is we were making that stuff up, and then it became the reality. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I didn't think the Republicans would be stupid enough to let him do it, but they did. C'est la vie. Here we go. Ben. Come on, Ben.
It is an utter bloodbath at the Republican National Committee right now. Lara Trump took over as its co-chair. It's now the Trump National Committee. They're purging over 60 employees there who I think they thought they were going to be the ones doing the purging, but see you later. You're not loyal enough to the Trump National Committee or the Trump family. They are now installing in senior level positions some of the most incompetent Trump loyalists, people like Christina Bobb, who either moonlights as Donald Trump's lawyer, custodian of records, or a right-wing propaganda host. It depends what it is each day.
So Christina Bobb, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, she was the lawyer that handled the documents case and lied to the feds.
Oh, man. Let's just pick them some more, can't we?
I know. This is just so bad. And here's her talking. Oh, man. Well, he's going to go forward a little bit.
She's now being installed at a senior level critical position at the RNC. She will now be the senior counsel for election integrity. She is an election denier. She is a pure Trump cultist. And she's the person who, after Mar-a-Lago was searched by the Department of Justice and the FBI, she was out there saying the documents were planted. She was saying that She wasn't sure if there were nuclear materials or not. Even Laura Ingraham on Fox.
It's just, oh man, we're having some internet problems today. You can hear me okay, right?
You're chopping up a little bit. You're not really bad, but yeah, it's a little choppy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, but that's what's the thing about it is that's the case. Is now they've got all the nutbags in there. So like Laura Bob and all them, and she trying to deny the election. She'd go on and say that no, the documents were actually planted. I mean, they stored boxes and boxes of documents in his bathroom and under his stage at Mar-a-Lago, and then recently they had a guy come forward and said that, who'd been working for Trump for like 20 plus years, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I remember loading boxes onto a plane when the FBI came in to search the place." So they're literally taking evidence out as the feds are coming in the front door. It's like a cartoon.
Oh, jeez. It's like a bad farce, man.
Well, but it's great news for the Democrats in a lot of ways because right now it's just things are not going well for the Republicans. And it's going to keep going that way. So we'll watch a little bit more, but they laid off 60-something people, and that's now just all the Trump loyalist nut jobs. So, I mean, at this point in the campaign, you're laying off that many senior people. By the time you replace them and they get up to speed, it'll be the election. I mean,
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a great plan.
No, it's insane.
Not a plan for success.
No, it's psychotic. So we'll go into this, but yeah, they just tanked a ton of people. So here's CBS.
The National Committee fired dozens of staffers. The team is made up of Trump loyalists, including the former president's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. Braxton Booker and Sabrina Rodriguez join us now. Braxton is a national correspondent for Politico, and Sabrina is national politics reporter for The Washington Post. Thanks so much for being here. I know I've seen you both recently out on the road, so good to be back here in D.C. to talk about all of our findings. I do want to start with RNC, though, because this is a fascinating dynamic where you have Trump, leadership team handpicked is kind of reorganizing the structure at the RNC. And Sabrina, I'm curious what you think about what this reorganization will mean for Trump as he, as soon as tonight, could officially clinch the number of delegates needed to win the nomination.
I mean, really seeing this happen is not a surprise to many of us. It's really a continuation of what we've seen of, Donald Trump really trying to take over the party infrastructure, to say, he's not just a presidential candidate, but he is the leader of the Republican Party, and that's where we see, him handpicking the leadership. I think what's going to be interesting in the months to come is what are those priorities for the RNC, because the Republican National Committee is not supposed to just look at the president; it is also supposed to look at Senate candidates, House candidates, down ballot races.
And she's kind of hit it. She soft-soaked it. But that's the thing is, they have to somehow fund the Senate candidates, because it's right now, the Senate's going to be a close race. So it really comes down to who can get out there and get the ads. Because honestly, how many of you know who your senators are? How many people really know? They're going to do it based on what they see in the ads, based on what they get in their voter pamphlets, if anything, right? So the ads are going to make a big difference, right? The outreach is going to make a huge difference, because a lot of these are going to be decided by, a few hundred votes, 1,000 votes, whatever it is. So the ability to have the funding is a big deal. So where's the priority going to be with how do we organize and fund that? Well, just to give you a comparison, right now the RNC, through Trump, has set up their headquarters in Palm Springs, Florida, near Mar-a-Lago, where it's more convenient for him, right? As where the Biden campaign and the DNC have set up all of their efforts out of Wisconsin, which is a major swing state that Biden has to win. And where are they focusing all their money? In all the swing states, and that's where they are. They're in the Midwest where it counts. So that'll be interesting to see, because they're going to be throwing their money and attention there. The other thing about
Give us Wisconsin, give us Ohio, give us some of these states, right?
Right. Plus, you got to figure if Trump's problem too is one, he's got all these fines, but he's got all these legal fees, which are what, almost $10 million a month, I'm guessing. It's got to be close to that or higher. And the question is can he make up that difference? Can he do it? And you know, we'll see what happens with all that. But I don't know. I mean, right now, where was it? Here, let's see if this comes up. But yeah, I mean, right now, at the beginning of the year, the RNC only had $8 million left, which is nothing.
That's not even a month worth of his legal fees.
No. And on top of that fact, it was really bad for them because that 8 million situation was coming off of, they'd only made 86 or 7 million the previous year, and that was, if you factor inflation, that was the worst campaign raising year they've had since 1993. In 30 years, that's their worst year. So I mean, it's just been. I mean, it's gonna be. They're gonna be bled out. It's gonna be really difficult for them going forward to figure out what's gonna happen here. So, I mean, it's just amazing to me. But that's they're just. I don't know what to say. The Republicans are just in deep shit. Because right now they're now, even with Ron McDaniel out, they're not raising any more money, and the Democrats have 3 or 4 times as much. And they're raising it in records, and especially after Biden's State of the Union address, which was amazing. I mean, they're going to have a ton of money. So, well, for other stuff, the overlooked third candidate in the presidential race, Robert Kennedy Jr., right? RFK Jr. Is a total conspiracy nut job. He's been shopping.
All right, I just gotta say, can we just stop and be a little petty for a second and say, don't you just love this face you're paused on here?
Here, let me clip over to it so everybody can see. Yeah, that's his face.
So sorry, this is what I've been staring at here. Look, you know, Kennedy looking like he's smelling shit, and I just gotta say that's pretty funny.
Yeah, we'll get into that clip in a second. He's a total idiot. He's a total idiot. Part of what he's been doing okay for a third-party candidate, better than most, and he takes pretty evenly from Trump and Biden because he's kind of a nut job, and they really pushed him on Fox News. And I think a lot of Democrats think, oh, he's a Kennedy, he's probably pretty leftist, and he's not. He's pretty right-wing, and he's kind of a nut job, libertarian kind of guy. Anyway. He's been shopping around for VP picks. Part of what his success has been is that most people don't know much about him, which is typically the success of most third-party candidates. Is people are like, well, I don't like either the Democrat or the Republican, so I'll vote third party, not realizing the third-party guy's worse because you don't know anything about him, because you haven't heard anything about him, right? So we're going to rectify that a little bit more today. But he's been shopping around for VP candidates, and that's been going on. But here's his pitch for the economy. This is a little bit older, but this is kind of what he's been going with, and it starts with that face Lacey loves. And this is totally stupid and insane. Oops.
The system is going to collapse. It's not sustainable. The economy is now no longer based upon industrial production or any kind of production. It's based upon speculation. So if you look at what's happening on Wall Street, they're no longer going factory by factory and saying what's the production, what's the efficiency, what's the lowest cost, what's the future. They're all focusing on what is the Fed going to do this week.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what everybody bets on. And it's financialized our economy. It's sent all of their industry abroad.
Yeah.
It's destroyed the American middle class, and we do that by printing dollars. You print $34 trillion that you don't have. Why would the world even value them anymore? And the reason that they continue to value them is because we have 800 bases.
Oh, man. So freshman economics 101 rears its ugly fucking head there. Talking about having no understanding about how things work in the world. So, just to make this easy on you, we were an industrial society for a long time. We still kind of are, but we're moving more towards service industry and technology because that's where our bread and butter is. That's where a lot of our money comes from. But he doesn't understand the nature of the economy or even what money is, right? And I'm just going to give you some basic facts to show you that it's bullshit. I just did a little quick PowerPoint to help everybody out, to make it easy. So, U.S. economy facts. We are the largest producer of petroleum and natural gas. And that's started under Obama. It didn't do as well under Trump, but now it's done really well under Biden. So we produce more petroleum than any other country in the world. We produce more gasoline than Saudi Arabia, Russia, any other individual country. Okay? We're the largest trading country. More people trade with us than anybody else, right? We're the second largest manufacturer. So this bullshit about industry jobs, we don't have industry jobs anymore. Nobody's factoring that in. That's crap. 20% of the global total. And we only have 2.3% of the population. But we manufacture 20% of the goods worldwide, right? We're the largest importer of goods. We're the second largest exporter of goods. All right. We top internationally in venture capital and research and development funding. We're the largest consumer market on the planet. So everybody comes here because we have all the customers, right? We're the top performing economy in ease of doing business index and the global competitiveness report. Oh, it gets better. We're top internationally, venture capital, R&D, I said that. I got those. Oh, sorry, I got all those. Anyway, just to simplify that, the economy is doing really, really well. And what he doesn't understand about how this works and why, when we're looking at Wall Street and investors and people like Lacey and me, when we're looking at stuff, and sometimes we look at what the Fed is doing, and a lot of that's, especially with your investments, if you're doing a lot of day trading and stuff, the reason is because of this thing called inflation. Right? It's not that complicated. The value of money goes down over time, never hitting rock bottom. It's a little bit like Atlantic City. It's always in decline, never hitting the ground, right? But what happens is, so the price of goods then goes up per the dollar, and it should. But you don't want it to go up too much or too little, so you're trying to keep that balance. So that's what keeps the middle class in place, essentially, is you want to make sure that their wages can keep up with inflation and can beat inflation, and that they're doing well enough that they're moving forward and they can match that. So what inflation does affects the consumer market, which is the middle, lower middle class, upper middle class. It's the whole market of the United States, which is what he doesn't get. And so this whole we're heading for a decline shit, why would you value the dollar? Well, you have to value the dollar because of one simple fact. Taxes. It's the only thing you can pay your taxes with. It's the only thing the government will accept. So every American has to have dollars to pay their taxes. You can't pay it in yen or rubles or euros or anything else. You got to pay it in dollars. So that's what gives it its value. We have to have them. So because we have to have American dollars, we got to make American dollars. So that's what we trade and spend in is American dollars. And since we are the largest consumer market, everybody who sells to us has to be able to exchange for American dollars because that's what we're trading with. Which is why every country on the planet is gauged against the American dollar, and the value of their currency is gauged against the stability and value of the US dollar, which is our ultimate power as a country next to the size of our military. Is we control the value of everything, and we have the means to blow anybody up that we want to. And now we have the third tip of the spear, right? The trident. We have petroleum. We're no longer beholden to OPEC like we were back in the 20th century. So now we're literally an empire that you can't dick with. Right? That's why nobody talks about going to war with America. You know? You don't hear a lot of like terrorist shit about let's attack America anymore. Doesn't happen. It's too much power.
You know, the crazy thing, though, is Kennedy can kind of spout off whatever nonsense he wants when it comes to the economy and economics, because really most people don't have much of an education on basic economics. So he can kind of get away with spouting nonsense, and people are just listening for anything that kind of sounds logical. You know, not to be insulting, but Most of us don't have a lot of education unless we've, taken courses at a college level. Your average high school education doesn't give you a whole lot for basic economics, if anything.
No, and like I said, I made the joke about freshman economics because that's what it's like. It's like you take economics 101 as a freshman in college, and yeah, that's what everybody. Oh yeah, there's going to be a recession, or we're falling as a country, and all this shit. And then you get to like your junior or senior year, and you've taken some more economics or finance or something. You start to realize, no, actually, we're pretty stable as a country. Things are actually pretty good. I mean, we've had horrible recessions for the last 24 years. 20 years, right? Not 24, but the beginning of the 21st century. They were not nearly as bad as weaker recessions were in the past because we've had the ability to bounce back because we have the Federal Reserve, which he bitches about. They have the ability to borrow and spend money. So like right now, and I'll do a video more in detail on this later, but right now the thing about watching the Fed is, and they're doing meetings all this week to talk about whether or not they're going to lower rates, but that affects the amount of cash in the system. You've heard of it as quantitative easing or quantitative tightening, which is the opposite of quantitative easing. And what that does is that's their way of trying to regulate inflation. But that's why it's important, because the government is stepping in. Well, not really the government, because the Fed is independent, but they work for the government, right? But they're stepping in to say, okay, we're trying to keep the economy warm, but not too hot and not too cold. Right, we're looking for that Goldilocks scenario. And so we want to manipulate the amount of cash in there because we want to keep inflation to this point. We want to keep unemployment to this point. And if we can manage these two things, the economy should be pretty good. And that's the nutshell, kind of what's good. That's why everybody's paying attention, because that's the amount of money that's going to come out, right? The amount that could be loaned in dollars, which he thinks aren't valuable, but they are. Because if I can loan more money, I can hire more people, I can buy more products, I can do more shit. It doesn't understand. It's not that we're not industrial anymore, we're just speculating. If you're industrial, you're speculating. If Lacey and I start a company, let's say we just want to open a new factory, we're speculating that we're going to make money on that. It's not this tangible thing he thinks it is. So it's all kind of, But that guy running for president, and we're talking about a guy who, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he was like, we should go back to the gold standard. You mean back when everything sucked? I mean...
Well, what's sort of interesting is watching the way that he will split the vote, though. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think his family's terribly excited about him.
I got a clip for it coming up. Oh yeah, I got a clip for it. First, I wanted to get into
because
this.
that's essentially what ends up happening, though, with an independent candidate is it goes and it siphons votes off of both of the other side. So it's kind of worth looking and being like, okay, so do we think this candidate's actually going to make it into presidency? Well, there's not really much of a history of the third party doing that, but where is it going to steal the vote from? That's kind of the interesting part to me.
Well, right now, though, it's split pretty much. He steals more from Trump right now in the polls than he does from Biden. But the interesting thing, I think he takes 8 points from Biden. He takes like 10 points from Trump. But the interesting thing about that is it'd probably be hurting Biden more, except for your theory right there that they're a spoiler candidate. It's true. That's what happened. Jill Stein basically screwed Hillary. One of the couple things that did, right? But the thing about it, which I think is interesting, is Fox News thought, oh, RFK will be a great spoiler. So they had him on their shows for months and months and months touting RFK Jr. And then what happened? Well, Fox is stupid because Democrats aren't watching Fox News. So what ended up happening was all their viewers started to think, yeah, RFK Jr. is a great guy. We should pick him. So what ended up happening was they ended up...
Right. If we don't like Trump, let's go for that guy.
Right. So what they did was they took a lot of people who would normally vote for Trump, and now they're sitting there swinging over to RFK. So his numbers with the conservatives and the Republicans shot up because of Fox, and now Fox doesn't have him on anymore. Yes, they realized they just shot the RNC in the foot. But anyway, he's picking because he's such a nut job. He's a conspiracy nut job. He's a right-wing libertarian nut job. So we've made fun of. We'll get into some of his vaccine shit and stuff like that. But he's picking for VPs right now. He's hunting, and he's gotten like Tulsi Gabbard. He's looking at like the Wicked Witch of the West. She is. Who these? Was it guy the Yang who ran for president last cycle? Andrew Yang, who's kind of a wealthy idiot. You know, ended up being kind of tanked with the Democrats. Nobody likes him. And then he was looking at Tony Robbins, the self-help guru guy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's approached him.
I'd be surprised to see Tony Robbins being willing to like get into bed with that guy.
I would
not that I know Tony Robbins personally, but based on what type of self-help whatnot he does, I'd be really shocked if he'd bite.
I wouldn't think he would. And then what was it? So Tony,
I wouldn't think so.
He also went Mike Rowe, who we've made fun of because the Dave
Oh,
Ramsey's buddy.
Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
Special. Mike Rowe might be interested.
Well, you know, he's got the voice and the looks to do it. He's just dumber than a fucking rock. The guy doesn't know anything if it's not scripted for him. But the other one he went is Aaron Rodgers, who I think is a former baseball player. But Aaron Rodgers really tanked a lot of his image in his career because he was a Sandy Hook denier. So the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting where a bunch of children died, a lot of people were wounded. They ran that. Alex Jones ran it. Fox ran some stuff on it that maybe it was all faked by the government to try and make guns illegal, which it wasn't. But Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that we're going to clip over to it. Here's Jake Tapper jumping in, but this is RFK's top pick so far.
New reporting with CNN's Pamela Brown. One of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s prospects for vice president, he has acknowledged, is New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. CNN has learned that in private conversations, Rodgers has shared wild and unhinged conspiracy theories in which he claims that the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting was not real. CNN knows of two people with whom Rodgers has shared these views, including CNN's Pamela Brown. In 2013, when CNN's Pamela Brown was covering the Kentucky Derby, she was introduced to Rodgers. Hearing that she was a journalist at CNN, Rodgers began attacking the news media for, quote, covering up important stories. Rodgers then brought up the Sandy Hook shooting and said the news media was intentionally ignoring that the shooting wasn't real, that it was a government inside job. I remind you, the shooting, of course, was very...
Tapper reminds you the shooting was real. It was real. It happened. I mean,
Well, why is the government inventing an entire school shooting of all things? Like, oh my goodness gracious.
because
I can't even imagine.
Well, in his mind, they're going to try and make guns illegal, which is psychotic. Yeah, or
I don't think anyone is really trying to do that.
or it was done for political value, or what, I don't know. But Alex Jones, remember him? He was a total nut job, and he just got tagged a year ago, with almost $1 billion in penalties from a lawsuit from the Sandy Hook parents, because he spent years saying it was a false flag, it wasn't real, it was all made up by the government. The kids were really actors. Nobody died. I mean, it was crazy shit. But yeah, but they're conspiracy theorists. RFK's a conspiracy theorist, so this guy makes a ton of sense. You're going to get the two tinfoil hat guys together, right?
Ugh,
So,
God forbid.
yeah, I mean, but that's his big choice. But like you mentioned before, RFK is such a fucking nut. His family is against him as a whole, and we're gonna go over to CNN and we're gonna watch a couple of little clips from this interview. But yeah, it's bad. Yeah, but she asked him about his family denouncing him.
Are seeing that it no longer applies to them, and they're feeling betrayed.
You also have a very famous last name. especially in American politics. When you announced your run, there were some members of the Kennedy family who were not happy about it. They wrote in a statement, quote, "The decision of our brother Bobby to run as a third-party candidate against Joe Biden is dangerous to our country." And they said that while you might share the same name as our father, you do not share the same values, vision, or judgment. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us. We denounce his candidacy and believe it to be perilous for our country. What have you said to your family?
Well, you know, I have a big family. There's about 105. You know, on 4th of July, when I last counted.
God. So, his brothers, right, sisters, whatever, he's a close, immediate family, right? Have all said, no, this is dangerous. He's not our father. Even though he has his name, he doesn't have his values. He doesn't have his judgment. Basically saying, you're not half the man your father is. And his brother and the rest of his immediate family all signed off on that.
Right, and his response to it is, I have a big family.
Right, I have.
Okay, your siblings are literally not supporting you running for president. I have no desire to run for any office, not even like a local council. But if I decided to do so, my siblings would be like, right on, Lace, good job. They wouldn't be like issuing public statements to say that this was a bad idea.
Right,
you know, if your siblings are making public statements that everybody's signing off on saying you're a bad idea, they know way more about you than the public does. So,
and they don't want to be attached to that. Yeah, they don't want to be attached.
And
They're trying to get out ahead.
They do not want to be attached to it. Think about it, people.
You know, but that's the thing is I still love that answer. I have a big my aunt's niece's cousin's sister thinks I'm good, right? My best friend's sister's cousin's boyfriend knows this kid who's going with this girl who would vote for me.
And her dog thinks I'm all right too.
Oh, but he's a total nut. We're gonna watch one more clip from this interview because she raked him and it was really funny. If you get a chance to watch.
Oh yeah, it was funny. She kept smacking him, and then he'd pick his head back up, and she just boxed him again, man.
Right, and she was nice about it the whole time, but she really just blam blam blam. So
she treated him like a bobblehead, man.
Yeah, so here's her cornering him on some of his anti-vax shit, which is really crazy.
And over the summer in an interview, you said, quote, "There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective." Do you still believe that?
I never said that.
So stop me. We have the clip. Please play the clip.
But play the whole clip.
You've talked about that the media slanders you by calling you an anti-vaxxer. And you've said that you're not anti-vaccine, you're pro-safe vaccine. Difficult question. Can you name any vaccines that you think are good?
I think some of the live virus vaccines are probably averting more problems than they're causing. There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
I can't imagine this.
So he said it. They're not safe and effective. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that he said it, but it's pretty funny to me that he's like, "Oh no, I didn't say that." Oh, and he's like,
play the whole clip.
Hold
now,
up. Yeah.
But now he's gonna be like, "Well, no, I said that some of them do better than their harms," and it's like, "Well, no, but you said that none of them are safe and effective." Those were the exact words you said. Now, was that a gaffe? Do you believe that they're safe and effective? But the fact of the matter is he's not a medical doctor. He doesn't have a medical degree. And the vast majority of the science and medicine community, the vast majority, completely disagrees with him. If you go to your doctor's going to tell you to get the vaccine.
Well, the truth of the matter is, I don't know why he's taking such a public stance about people not doing this. Like, quite frankly, his public stance should be that people need to defer to their doctors for their medical whatever, because he's not a doctor. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I don't think he needs to be taking any stance at all about it. So I don't know why he decided to get so hot over the whole thing anyway, with the whole none of them are safe and effective. He's not a damn doctor.
Yeah, but the doctor in the book that he kind of used to quote all the time, that guy is lost his medical license and his degrees for his take of vaccines and not being safe. And he did a thing where he went and talked to a Muslim community in Minnesota, where apparently there's a lot of big Muslim communities there, and basically got them to stop, what was it? I can't remember, it was polio or something like that, vaccines, and then, or not polio, what was it? Malaria. And they got he talked to the parents and like, oh, it's not really necessary. And of course, what happened? They had a huge outbreak of malaria among the children because they weren't vaccinated. And everybody was like sitting there going, didn't we fucking eradicate malaria? Isn't it? Everybody's vaccinated. When's the last, who have you ever known who's had malaria?
Basically, nobody.
I've never heard of that. We got vaccinated when we were infants. Didn't occur. And then like, I remember talking about this with my nephew, and he was talking about it. I'm like, let me give you an example. Who do you know who's had chicken pox who's under the age of 35? And he was like, well, I don't know anybody who's had chicken pox. Well, I said, I've had chicken pox. When I was a kid, we all got it.
Right.
And a certain number of us were going to be permanently disabled to some degree because of it. And a certain number of us were going to die of it. But the idea was it's safer to get it as a kid than as an adult. As an adult, you'd probably die from it or be seriously damaged. As a kid, you have a better chance of survival. So your parents always wanted you to get it when you were a kid. I said, nowadays, kids don't get it. Why? Because there's a fucking vaccine. You don't need to go through it. And it's not worth it. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Right. I remember at a certain point, if a kid had chicken pox and another kid didn't ever have it yet, sometimes the parent was trying to send their kid over so they get it, because they thought it was safer for the kid to be out for a week with it, as a kid. Yeah,
this was normal all the way up until like the early 2000s. So for like those of you who are, under 25 or 30, you probably never experienced this. If you were not alive in the 20th century, you didn't. I mean, this is one of those like, yeah, we should leave it in the past kind of shit. But he wants to go back to that. But I want to see him real quick, his response to him. Actually, he's saying, oh, I didn't say they weren't safe and effective. Then she had a video of him saying they're safe, not safe and effective. I want to see his response real quick before we move on.
Do you still believe it?
Well, here's what I would say. First of all, I'm not anti-vaccine.
How is that statement not anti-vaccine?
Well, I can say right now there's no medicine for cancer that's safe and effective. It doesn't mean I'm out against all medicines. I've been fighting 40 years to get mercury out of fish. Nobody calls me anti-fish.
Oh, God. He said that
line. Now he's just spouting more nonsense.
He said that line so many times. And that line was bullshit 20 years ago when he first said it. Because the amounts of mercury that were in those vaccines back then were minor, and it wasn't the same type of mercury you find in fish. The type that was in it was actually safe. But because he started that and a bunch of other people, what ended up happening, the companies started saying, fuck it, let's just manufacture it without mercury so we don't have to fucking hear about it anymore. The problem is they don't last as long. I mean, as far as preservation for time. But I mean, yeah, but you can get them now without mercury because of that. It wasn't necessary, but they did it because they complained about it. But talk about it's just a waste of time and money.
Right.
But anyway, that's the nut job. So Sandy Hook denier, vaccine deniers. He thinks Wi-Fi causes cancer. Right? Thinks the economy sucks right now, even though we've got one of the best economies in the world, and we're in the most powerful economy and country in the world. He thinks we're in our decline for some reason. And you want that guy running the... Yeah. Like I said, the only reason I think he's gotten as far as he has is because, unlike his family, the voters don't know who he is. Because the people know who he is, don't want him.
Right. Like his family.
Yeah, just like his family. Oh, man. Well, we'll move on to one more thing. So, a couple more things. So, oh, so we got to do Trump. So, he had the $83 million judgment from E. Jean Carroll. He was barely able to post a bond on that, and he had to put up like most of the cash. All right, but now he's got the $464 million bond, which is with interest is going to be closer to like $500 million, and so he's got to put that up. And he's got till I think Monday of next week, till whatever that is, March 20 something, 24th or 5th. Hasn't put it up yet, and just filed a motion with the court. His attorneys did, saying he can't get a bond to put up the money. So we're going to go into this real quick. So here's an article. Trump has been unable to get bond for a $464 million judgment, his lawyers say. So basically, they said, it was in a filing to the appeals court, Trump attorneys said getting the bond needed to halt proceedings while the appeal is practically a practical impossibility. They can't get a bond. Everybody turned him down. So the 464. So they filed to the appeals court. I bet it's going to get shot down. But here we go. So defendants' ongoing diligent efforts have proven that a bond in the judgment full amount is practically as a practical impossibility. The filing said these diligent efforts have included approaching about 30 surety companies and 4 separate brokers. So he went to 30 different companies and 4 different brokers, and all of them said, "Fuck off, get out of my office."
God, who's okay, even if you have that kind of money, who wants to get themselves involved and entangled in all of that?
Well, furthermore,
you know?
what does he have to put up? He has real estate. And so they can't, and so here's the trick to that when you're seizing property. I can't see shit that's encumbered. So what that means, so let's say Lacey and I own a house together. That we're renting out, and I screw up and I get a court fine against me, and I don't have the money, and so the court goes to seize. They can't seize the house because Lacey owns half of it, and the judgment's not against her, it's just against me. So it's much harder to divide that house, or the value of that house, right? So it's harder to split that. So if you're a surety company and you're in a situation with like Trump where he doesn't own most of these properties, he has leases on them or he has loans on them, they can't just seize the property. He's got to have something that's
right,
fairly
but
unencumbered.
Somebody you're wanting to borrow money from so you can post this bond, they're like, what guarantees me my money? you
right.
know?
Right, that's the thing. And so if they can't...
Right.
He doesn't have anything that's tangible that he can give them. So nobody's offering him a bond. So he either has to come up with it in cash, which he's not going to be able to do in a couple days, because he'd have to sell a ton of shit, and I don't know how he'd do that unless it's a big fire sale. Or what's going to end up happening, he's hoping the appeals court will give him more time, but they probably won't, because the reason this 30-day limit to post a bond or post the cash is put in place is because people have tried to cheat it before. People like Donald Trump by moving their money around or hiding it overseas or shit like that. So this whole thing it's unlikely, but what it really tells us is he said he's rich and he has all this money. Well, if he had all this money, he could just put it up in cash. But he doesn't. He's cash poor. He has no money. He lives entirely off of credit. And that's what that proves. And it's really bad because now he's pissed off because now everybody knows it because he posted this motion, right? They sent out this motion. But man, it's bad. So we're going to clip it to Ben Mysalis. Go ahead.
I'm having a thought. So the funny thing is our other favorite person, Dave Ramsey, seems to be a Trump supporter politically, but gee, I wonder what his advice would be to Trump about this situation.
I would
love to watch that episode.
He's not going to do it. It'd be too embarrassing. But
just walk the baby steps, Trump. Walk the baby steps.
Walk the baby. Just save the money. Trump does everything by debt, though. which, you know, Ramsey's against. But anyway, Ben Meiselas is going to talk about this. We'll jump into him real quick.
To do. Nope. Donald Trump does not have the funds to post this bond, and not even the funds to get a surety to help him post this bond. Here's what it says. If you go to page 8, and I'll read more from this motion, but page 8, it says, posting a full undertaking is a practical impossibility. Trump's lawyers writing this. In the opening brief, when their efforts to obtain such a bond were still ongoing, defendants stated their expectation that it would be impossible to secure and post a complete bond. Diligent efforts since that time, including countless hours negotiating with one of the largest insurance companies in the world, have proven that obtaining an appeal bond in the full amount of the judgment is not possible under the circumstances presented. Pause. Donald Trump is filing this to beg the New York appellate division to stay the enforcement of the judgment against him, right? The clock is ticking down right now, where in just under about 2 weeks, you're going to have New York Attorney General Letitia.
So he's going to go to that. But yeah, so basically, if he doesn't post this, Letitia James, who's the New York Attorney General, is just going to go seize his shit. And she's already mentioned that one of the first targets is 40 Wall Street, which is the big office building he owns, because that is unencumbered. But it's probably only worth about 80 or 90 million, so it's not going to cover the whole thing. And even with a sale, if she seizes it, it's going to be a quick sale. They might get 50 or 60 after whatever he owes on it is left, with whatever low ball price they get. So if he owes 500 million and they get 50 or 60, so they're a tenth of the way there. So they got to find a bunch.
They're going to be some rich people pretty excited to lowball and scoop up some of his property.
You know, if I had $100 million, I might be tempted to bid on 40 Wall Street. I'd rip his name off and remodel the building, but it's not like it's a bad property. He just needs some work. But yeah, he's looking at losing it all, and it's so bad. You almost feel bad.
Except you don't.
Except I don't care. Oh man, so it just kills me with this guy. So I wanted to clip to our favorite real quick, Alina Habba, because she was Trump's lawyer that screwed everything up in court and da-da-da. But she had to eat her words on this one, and I just want to play this real quick just to wrap this up, because this is so funny to me. Alina Habba on Trump's ability to pay his bonds.
I'm reminded of the numerous times that awful former Trump lawyer Alina Habba went on air bragging about his deep pockets as a means to downplay the possibility that he doesn't have the capital to post bond.
I know they announced a bond in the Carroll case, around $90 million in the Carroll case this week. Any closer to getting a bond in the real estate case? And you're right, it's a judgment, not a settlement. No agreement made in that case.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately I can't speak to that. That's privileged, and I am the attorney, one of the attorneys on that case. But like I said, the judgment's absurd, and the fact that we're even talking about this, Martha, is absurd. And I hope that the appellate division will do the right thing here, as we've seen them do a few times before.
Okay, we will see.
So he'll just write a check, Alina?
I'm not going to get into privileged information, but there will be a bond, and there will be no issues with that. So that's all I'll say on that.
So there will be no issues with the bond. He's got the money. It's fine. The appeals court will do the right. I think he's gonna lose both of these at appeal, no problem. But go ahead.
I'm just thinking. I hope her paycheck is okay.
Well, I think she got fired.
Good.
Rumor about that, but I think she made whatever $3 million, $3.5 million, something like that, from Trump on these things. And but you got to figure she's been fined like over $1 million for mishandling shit. And then she's got another case where she basically tricked a client, or a woman who she said she was representing when she was really representing Trump, who was sexually harassed at Mar-a-Lago by the manager there. And she handled that settlement and tricked the woman into taking a lower settlement. Now the woman realized she got duped. So she's looking at losing her bar license in Florida, possibly New York. I mean, yeah, her whole career is screwed. But yep. But once again, Melina Haba, if she says it, you can pretty much guarantee it's not true. It's total horseshit.
Also not the reputation you want.
Yep. We'll do one more thing on the Trump trial thing. So his criminal trial in Manhattan was supposed to start March 25th. It's been delayed by 30 days because there was a document situation where the Department of Justice in Southern New York, Alvin Bragg asked him for all these documents over a year ago, and they refused for whatever reason. And then just recently, they just dropped like 100,000 documents on his lap. So now he's got to take 30 days to go over all that shit, right, with his team. And now the judge is pissed because he's like, why is this happening? We were ready to go in like a week, and now you guys do this shit? So the judge is having a hearing this week to try and figure out who fucked this up, basically. But anyway, so they have that going on, so we'll clip to that real quick.
I'm just going to ask Lisa Rubin if she wants us to wait as she continues reading, but she's got some interesting details from this court document asking for a delay in the Alvin Bragg case, the hush money case against Donald Trump. Lisa, what'd you find?
So in reading this motion, Katie, it seems as if when the defendants when Donald Trump first moved for an adjournment or dismissal, it was because of a January 18th subpoena to the U.S. Attorney's Office that produced 73,000 pages of records. On the verge of the DA's office responding to it, it seems that yesterday he got another 31,000 pages of documents, and then
it's more than 100,000 documents.
Correct, and the U.S. Attorney's Office is saying we're going to produce more. He is angry at the District Attorney's Office for not turning those over to him. He says it was their responsibility somehow to get those and turn them over. But they note at the bottom of the first page that these records appear to be relevant to the subject matter, but they include materials that the people, that means the District Attorney's Office, requested from the U.S. Attorney's Office, that's the Department of Justice, more than a year ago, and that the Department of Justice previously declined to provide. So there will be a lot of questions about why is the U.S. Department of Justice making materials available now to Trump related to his defense that they wouldn't give to the Manhattan DA's office a year ago. We will know more about that when the DA's office submits its substantive brief, which they say they will do tomorrow. But in the meantime, they say that this is really Donald Trump's own fault, that they sought the full grand jury record relating to Michael Cohen's campaign finance conviction in federal court last year. And they asked for things including grand jury minutes and tapes, witness lists, grand jury subpoenas, exhibits that they gave to the grand jury, etc. And they didn't get those things, or the stuff that they did get, they gave to Donald Trump more than 9 months ago. And Donald Trump didn't complain. Nonetheless, the U.S. Attorney's Office, for whatever reason, is now saying you can have more of it.
They're saying 30 days is fine.
And so, yeah, basically the judge had to delay it for 30 days. But that's the thing, is it all got fucked. So Southern New York is giving it up, saying, well, we've got these now, but it's not our fault because the DOJ had them and denied giving them out last year. And now we're getting all this shit at once. You know, and part of this is Trump's fault because he had a lot of this shit. So, you know, his attorneys wanted a longer delay, but they didn't get it. So, we'll go.
Good.
Yeah, but Mershon, who's the judge of that case, he came out with a bunch of rulings just today, and we'll clip over to this. So, this is Karen Magnifilu Friedman and Michael Popak on the Midas Touch, and they're going to talk about some of the judgments that came out this morning.
New developments in the Manhattan DA case. Judge Juan Mershon has decided a pair of motions here, motions from the defense and motions from the prosecution. These were the motions in limine, so the pre-trial motions. So just because the case is slightly on hold, it was a 30-day adjournment while they sort out this new discovery that was given by the Southern District of New York, the feds. They're going to have a hearing on that. The trial was postponed zone, but everybody's still working. This is not like the DC trial where anything's on pause. Everybody is still furiously at work. And there was these pair of motions in limine, or pretrial motions, that were filed both by the defense, Donald Trump, as well as by the people, or Alvin Bragg's office, the Manhattan DA's office. And the motions essentially were, what are the things that each side wants to either introduce, be able to introduce, or preclude the other side from being able to introduce. And those are the types of things that are usually sorted out ahead of time in what's called motions in limine. And that is a standard part of every case. And the judge, Judge Juan Merchan, today, he filed his decision on the motions separately. So he did Trump's motions all in one. It was his decision and order on his. And then in the people's, he also ruled his decision and order on the people's. And Popok, I don't know about you, but this was a resounding smackdown of Donald Trump. It was a reiteration of, the word denied over and over and over again in his motion. And it was a resounding win for the people in both of the motions. A few little things. I think the highlight of what people will say that was the biggest thing that Trump was able to accomplish was.
Well, let's skip that for a second, but yeah, essentially, they're filing the motions for what can and can't be introduced, right? What we can introduce, what the other side can introduce. And so Trump his team wanted to limit all this shit the other side could introduce. And the judge basically said, no, denied. They basically stamped it all the way down, denied. The only one he gave him was, and I don't know why this is a big issue in this case, but it might come up, the Access Hollywood tape where Trump says the grab him by the pussy thing. The limitation is the prosecution can talk about it. They can quote him.
But they can't play it.
But they can't play it. That's it. But they can say everything. They can reenact it if they want. They just can't play the tape. But not like everybody in the jury probably hasn't already heard it already. Is there anybody in America who hasn't heard it?
No, I don't think so. It was such a big thing, kind of during the last election cycle, etc. So.
Yep, just how it goes. But yeah, so.
All right.
Go ahead.
In my world, I'm running out of time.
Oh yeah, no, we're done. So that was
okay.
Yeah. So Trump was done with all that stuff. I don't know if you had a couple more minutes. We could do the Lauren Boebert thing real quick, or we could, if you have another 5 or 10 minutes.
How long is it? Is it a very long one?
No, I figured we wrap it up about 10 minutes.
I need to go faster than 10 minutes because in 12 minutes my thing starts.
Okay, let's wrap it up now. So that's our show for today.
Sorry, Boebert.
Yeah, no, we'll do it next time. So that's our show for today. Where can everybody catch you, Lacey?
As always, you can catch me at mysensewithsense.com. You can find articles I've written, information about courses and workshops. You can email us to find out more about that, or to send us some clips, topic requests, or invite yourself on the show. Duncan, where can people do that?
You can email us at gossipfinancead@outlook.com. It's down below. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and we will catch you next time. We'll also do some more clips coming out through the week, so look for those. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.